Hi everyone, it's me Darlene. I am here with the specialty block for our 7th quilt block of the month of July, and this is 2024. If you're not familiar with this series, I have a playlist link in the description of this video and also on the end screen, which pops up at the end of this video. You can go get caught up. I'm doing one block per month, coming out on the 1st of the month. So far, I have been able to keep doing that. And at the end of the month, we'll have 12 blocks. And these particular blocks are being ragged. So I'm making the specialty block right now. Then I'll have the full block after this. And then I show you my big stitch quilting, and we join and snip and do all of that. So by the end of the year, the quilt will actually be almost completely done. Still trying to figure out what I might want to do for a border on it. So July, I'm not really doing things like holiday theme. Of course, July, we think of 4th of July, patriotic. You know, I think of sunshine and heat, things like that. The trouble is, I don't want to do any curves in this series. So even the sunshine was going to be hard for me because I couldn't find anything I liked, but I came up with a sun that I think I'm going to like. The other thing was a star, and I actually have made like wonky stars in my past videos, and I found a star that can be considered an 8-point star that I thought might pass as the sun. So it can be the heat of July with the sun shining, or it also could be a star to make people think of the 4th of July. I don't know. I had to keep it simple. And I did a practice piece with red and white. I'm going to be using yellow for the sun. And to me, it kind of looks like the sun. So I think that it's a good option. Mine is a little bit rectangular. It's like longer. They're going to be wonky. You might lose your points, and you're not going to worry about any of that. So I made this one, and I didn't really keep track of what I used for pieces. I know I started with a 3.5-inch square of background. Did I? Yes, I did. I should have paid more attention. And some 2-inch squares for the sun, for the little, we'll call them the points. I don't know if it's the sun or a star. I'm gonna go with sun. I actually got the idea for these things from a video that I did once upon a time for mini flying geese. That it's very easy to do. So I said I'll take 4 of the flying geese and put those together in a way and make it look like this. All right, so I'm just winging this as I go. I'm going to give you just the measurements for what we're starting with, and then I'll give you the measurements for other stuff when we get to that point, because I can't remember everything right now. Okay, for your background, pick something non-directional that can go in any direction, because I have no clue how it would turn out where we have these different things that are going to be turned different ways. Same with the sun. I'm just going with a mottled yellow. You don't want anything directional because I just don't know how it would work. And this is a 3.5-inch square. I don't know if I said that yet. 3.5-inch square of your background. I went with blue just thinking it would look like the sky, huh? Because sun belongs in the sky, right? And you're going to need 4 2-inch squares of whatever you're using for your sun. Take 2 of your 2-inch squares, well, put a diagonal line in the back of all the 2-inch squares. Just a diagonal line. There's no direction here, so you don't have to worry. Just a diagonal line. We're going to take one of these, and we're going to do right sides together. So you want your right side of your sky facing up and the sun facing down. You're going to put it in this corner. I'm going to show you like you're looking at it. So you're going to have, it pointing to you like this, and you're going to put your diagonal line like it's going down, up and down, facing you. And you're going to take another one, and you're going to do the same thing. And you're going to line this one up with the bottom. Okay? You can put some pins there if you want to. I'm not going to. They're overlapping here. That's what they're supposed to do. So you just match up the corners, diagonal line going straight down. We are going to sew 1/4 of an inch on each side of this line. Now, if you accidentally sew on the line, like I did twice, don't worry about it, because we're going to be cutting on that line. So it's okay if you accidentally make that mistake. What you would do is you would just go back and sew 1/4 of an inch on each side. And you can use whatever you want to draw your lines, because like I said, we're going to be cutting on that. It's not going to be showing anywhere. So let me just do that. And yes, you're going to see black thread because that's what I have. And I have purple underneath. I don't care about colors like that. So I did one side, and now I'm going to turn and do 1/4 of an inch on the other side of the line. And I did a fairly sloppy job, but that's what it looks like. And I'm going to cut on the line that I drew. Now we have 2 pieces that look like this. I'm going to flip the sun pieces up and press. I just did some editing and I don't know, it looked a little dark, so I changed my settings. We'll see if this is better. This is what we have. 2 things that look like this. Almost like little cats, or maybe, I don't know, a fox or something. Take one of these, and you're going to take another one of your 2-inch squares with the diagonal line going up and down. So, like facing you, you're going to put it right here. Like that. And we're going to sew on each side of that diagonal line. Obviously, you want the right sides together. And I find that it is easier to jump on this point and not here. There's too much going on here. So I'm going to jump on this point, and I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch on this side. This is what we have. This is where I mounted. This is where I dismounted. And you'll notice that, you know, it goes right to where that intersection is, but don't worry if you don't hit that exact spot. But that's what it's like. Now at this point, you can decide to start here if you want to, you know, sew on this side. I still like to jump on this end, so I'm just going to sew on this side. I'm comfortable with the line being on the right side of my foot. So we have this. I'm going to do the same thing with this. If you were doing a whole shitload of these, you could send them through one after another, doing one side of the line, and then, you know, snipping those and then sending them all through again. Now we're going to cut on the line on both of these. Going to flip up the sun parts and press. I pressed them all, and I'm just going to go and trim. I'm going to do it on my mat with my rotary cutter, and I'm just going to see if I can, you know, trim it. I'm not going for any particular size. I'm just going to cut off all those little dog ears. I mean, realistically, could I do it right here? Yes, I could. So why don't I just do that? I'm just going to trim those like that. And the one on top. So I have 4 things that will end up looking like this. Now I have to figure out what we do next. Cut a 3-inch square of your sun. It's a little bit bigger than I need, so probably a little bit bigger than you need. I would rather that we have a little bit too much than not enough, because I'm going to sew one of these. I'm going to do it as though you're looking at it. Sun, and we want one of these points, and then I'm going to trim after the fact. So I'm going to just center that yellow to yellow, or sun to sun. You don't want it like this. You don't want this way. You want the sun pieces to be matching. So I'm going to sew one on each side of this. Do make sure that this is a straight line and that that's a straight line. You can just trim a little bit. We're not concerned with an ending size because we're going to take care of that at the very end. And I'm going to put this one here and this one here, and I'm going to sew. If you want, you can fold this and make a little crease at the center on each side. So when I go to sew this one, I want to make sure I'm doing it right. When I go to sew it here, I can line up that with the little crease that I just made. Going to go press this open. Here is what I'm going to do. None of us are going to have the exact same size sons because of our seam allowances and things like that. And I don't want to nail you down to a specific size that we need for these corners. So we're going with just 2-inch squares. We will have a little bit of waste, but I'd rather have it be easy for you. See, that's way too much. That's too big. But I'm going to explain to you in a second how to do it. And it's going to show you that you don't have to worry about doing the math and saying, okay, I need 1.5 inches, but I'm going to lose some in the seam allowance. Just take scraps and say, will that fit? Yeah, that'll fit. So you're going to take your other 2 sun pieces, and those are going to be going there with the yellow, touching the yellow with your sun color. You can have any color sun you want. You just want to make sure your sun pieces are touching, and then your backgrounds are going to be like this and there. Make sure these 2 pieces that you have a straight edge there and there. Just take off what you need. It can be just a little sliver sometimes. And now let's do this top strip. So we want this edge to be against here. So we're going to make this edge line up. Then at the end, we can trim the top off. This way, if your little flying geese, did I tell you these are called flying geese? Because of the way they put them in quilt blocks, it looks like little geese flying. So we want to line up the bottom edges on this top row. We will be trimming up here when it's time to trim. So I'm going to put this one here and sew, and then I will attach this one here. All bottom edges are going to be lined up. And I completely fucked up because I have no business showing anyone how to do something. I just don't. But it's okay, we make mistakes. I had put this here, and I'm supposed to sew here, but I ended up sewing there. So I'm starting over. I'm putting this like this, and I'm folding it over here, and I'm going to sew this way. And I even did a crooked job with that. And we're going with crooked. Like this, lining up the bottom edge, and sewing right here. So when it comes time to sew this part of the sun to this part of the sun, we can shift. And we know we're going to have enough. Gee, that's cutting it close. So I'm glad that I made 2-inch squares. We'll just have to do a lot of trimming on the top and bottom. So let's just leave that like that for now. And now with this one, we're going to line up this edge. And we're going to leave the funky, uneven stuff at the very bottom. So I'm going like this. And I'm going to sew here. Just know that everything we do can be called wonky, and then it makes it okay. And again, I did a kind of a crooked job. Why so crooked? You can see that my 1/4-inch seam is very crooked there. I'm just going to go back. Oh, right there. See, it's narrower down here. Yes, so I'm just going to go back and sew on top because when I open it, it's going to be crooked because this is more narrow than up here. So I'm just going to go straighten that out. You don't have to take the stitches out, just starting over, right on top of it. So I have a straighter line now, and I've got that double little thing going on the bottom, and that's okay. And when I open that up, now it's going to be straight. Like this, and now I want this piece here, and I'm sewing here. So we're going to be ready to sew these pieces onto this, but I'm going to go press them. I don't know which one was top or bottom. You know, I might have switched them. Oh, this was the one I had on the top because I can see where I screwed up with the sewing. Now I'm just going to sew these to this. I'm not doing any trimming yet. And when we sew, we can see. Now my intersections are not going to match up, and that's okay because remember, it's a wonky sun. Wonky sun. I'm going to sew that like that, and then like that. It's really nice when we don't have to worry about things matching up, and you know, because if we had to match everything up, we would feel like monumental failures. So I'm going to just go sew this here, and then I'll attach this one to the bottom too. I'm going to go press this open. And now I'm going to go trim this, and I'm just going to trim to make it even. Again, I'm not trimming down to a certain size. And look, I have my points. I like that, but again, we have to add more background to this, so we could still lose points. Don't cry if you lose your points. I really like this, but we're going to add more background and then our black border, and that's when we're going to be able to trim. Let me at least give you an idea of what this came out to be. Where is my ruler? Where is it? And it's rectangular, I think. It looks it to me. So I'm like at 4 3/4 by 5. It's okay if it's rectangular. I'm gonna make it all work at the end. I decided to just cut 1.5 inch strip, and we're going to put background. It's gonna make it a little bit bigger, but that's okay. I'm going to like the little sun. I got a piece of thread there. A little sun in the big sky. So I'm going to do top and bottom, doesn't matter, but I like to do each end this way and then this way. So I'm just taking a 1.5 inch strip. I cut it as long as I could, and I'm going to lay it here and sew. I'll go press open. I trimmed off the extra, and now I'm going to put the 1.5 inch strip on this side and that side. Pressing open. Now we're going to add our 2 inch strips of black border. Of course, you're using any color border that you want. And I do have a piece here that I see got picked out. I must have made a mistake at some point. So I'm going to use that because it fits. And I have it a little bit rectangular. I think I'm going to make this be my top and bottom, and then the 2 sides. So I'm going to do the 2 sides first. You can turn your sun any way you want. I had to change my bobbin, and I completely forgot to turn my camera back on. So I'm going to press this, and I'll trim it, and then I'm going to tell you what size you need to trim yours to. I cut this down to 8.5 inches square. And then I did something that I tell you it's okay if we do it, but I don't like that I did it. I cut a little bit more off this side than this side. It's, you can tell. It's a little bit wider here than there. All right, so I cut 8.5 inches square. The way to make this even is you find your center, and then you count half of 8.5. Half of 8.5 is 4 1/4. So you would count out 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4, and that's where you would trim. And then you would go 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4, and that's where you would trim. Somehow I still screwed it up a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. Now, if you don't want to make this block, you can just cut a piece 8.5 inches square, and you can put it where this is going to go in the big finished block. It's a good time to use a large print if you want, or you can use anything that you've made. Maybe you have some leftover pieces that you've made for other quilts, even if it's just a half square triangle or something like that, and you can build it out until you can get it to be 8.5 inches square. All right, I hope you guys like our little sun, our little star sun. And I know I made this now in a series that I had small stuff, something like that. Oh, my goodness, I'll link to that in the description. I don't even really remember what I did, but it's one of the few quilt tops that I did not put on eBay. And I still have it just as a quilt top. I don't even know where it is, but I put so much work into that one that I didn't want to part with it. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. The next video of the completed block will be out very soon, and then part 3 will be the big stitch quilting and how that turned out. And I'll be joining 2 completed rows. I haven't done that yet, but the first 6 blocks are done. We're doing 3 across, 4 down, so I'll have 2 rows that I can connect, and we'll look at that. For real now, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll be back with more soon. Bye.